welcome to week 6 of summer. Um, this week we are going to be celebrating Black literature, and I'm really excited about what we've got in store for you this week. It's going to be brilliant. Um, I'm sure you recognise some of these faces, and we are really looking forward to looking at some of these writers next year and exploring the brilliant things that they have done and the brilliant things that they are currently doing. So you will see lots of these faces next year. And we're going to talk about some of them in this week's lessons. Okay, so this week we will be exploring and celebrating what Black literature means to us. We are going to discuss the impact of some of the examples of Black voices in literature. And then you are going to create your own spoken word or poem inspired by the explorations and celebrations that we have made this week. And I'm so excited to see what you come up with. So, for lesson 1, we are going to begin by really thinking about what celebrating Black literature means to you. So, you are going to create your own mind map. So you can either edit this PowerPoint yourself, or you can do it on your own piece of paper. And that is entirely up to you, whatever is easiest. So the first thing you're going to do is write that in the center of your mind map, and then jot down your initial thoughts, just some things that pop to mind immediately. And you're going to pause this video while you do that. The next thing you're going to do is add to the mind map. Now, some of you might like to add each layer in a different colour, whatever works for you. And you are going to add inspired by some of these images. Okay, if you're happy with doing that, then you can skip on the video. Otherwise, you can stay with me for a minute and we'll just talk through some of them. So, we have 5 different images there that might inspire you. So the symbol of power here in the fist, what does that mean to you? What about celebration of African American literature? And it's saying here, lift every single voice. So what does every voice mean to you? What does that mean? Who needs to be heard? Who needs to have a voice? We have here a great book called Black Love, Black Hate. What kind of emotions does that make you feel? What does that make you think of? 2 very contrasting words here, and what is that trying to say to us? And then we have another image here talking about women being powerful and dangerous. So we often come across the differences between the treatment of different races, but do we also come across different treatments to different genders, and what does that mean? And then we also have an image here about celebrating Black History Month. What does that mean to you? Is that an important month to you? Do you agree with it? What are your thoughts on that? I know that there's already been some brilliant discussions on Teams about that. So you want to pause the video while you continue to add to your mind map. Okay, on this slide, while you're continuing to add to your mind map, this is a plethora of lots of famous Black writers. So obviously the ones on the top row are now deceased, and the rest of them are still living and writing currently. I was lucky enough to have a workshop with Jacob Sam-LaRose, who is a brilliant Black British poet. His poetry is beautiful and he loves the spoken word. He loves to perform it. His website is great if you want to listen to him speaking any of his poems. Okay, so I want you to have a look through these people, see who you've heard of, whereabouts have you seen them, Is it in history? Has it been in your English lessons? Whereabouts have you come across them? Have you come across them at any of them on TV? Okay, so pause the video while you add to your mind maps. They should be huge by now. And now we move on to some of the books that we are going to recommend to you that we might dip in next year. And I want you to have a look through them, see if there's any that you've already read or any that you're looking to read, or can you add to this some of the brilliant writers that you might have read recently. Okay, so pause the video while you add to your mind map. And then your final layer is looking at reasons that Black literature is so important. Now, if you've got so much stuff already on your mind map that you have run out of space, feel free to do another mind map or a bullet point list of the things that you find important from the next 5 points. Now, if you're happy to read through these by yourself, you can skip on in the video. If not, stick with me and I'll read each point through with you. And you can just pause after each point to add to your mind map or your new bullet point list. Okay, so the number 1 here is Black literature holds history. Black literature holds history of the past that many people do not know. There are so many autobiographies about interesting Black people that hold the history of their accomplishments. So in other words, their achievements, things that they've done that has been brilliant. The stories that some of these books hold are astonishing. These stories give more in-depth look at stories told in the history books. With this being said, it is so important that the younger Black generation, and in fact everyone, understand where they come from. Okay, number 2, Black literature helps show representation of people of colour in the literary sphere. So when we look at literature, it's really important that we are able to see ourselves in literature. So it's not just white people all the time that we see, it's people of all backgrounds, all ethnicities, and it's really important that we see ourselves reflected in what we read. So Black literature gives us a more precise representation of Black people in the literary world. There is a problem with people of colour in literature being misrepresented, so presented in a way that is false. This problem not only incorrectly proves the media right by portraying these stereotypes, but it also affects the people who read them by leading them to believe this inaccurate depiction of the subject portrayed. This may also affect young writers who read this as a misrepresentation of themselves. You might think that these stereotypes, they just don't reflect you correctly. Number 3, Black literature can show different perspectives of our culture. Black culture has evolved over the years, as has all cultures. The slave narratives show a different side of our story due to the vast differences of upbringing. Throughout the decades, our music has changed, the characters in the books have changed, style has changed too. Black books can show the growth of this change, and these changes can be seen in our everyday culture, things that we experience every single day. Number 4, Black literature can help you learn things that are not taught in school. It can change your opinion on certain situations because sometimes these books open up your mind to ideologies that aren't normally taught in textbooks. So an ideology is a way of thinking. There are literature that have been kept away from classrooms. There are books that show the brutal ways that slaves are treated and things that went undocumented in civil rights era. So undocumented means it wasn't written down in the history books. There is a vast sea of information that isn't taught in school, and you've been talking about that in your Black Lives Matter stimulus each week, and that can be learned from investing time in reading the literature yourself. Like, you might want to look at literature based around your own culture and your own heritage. Number 5, Black literature can help break the stereotypes that Black people are grouped in. Learning more about ourselves through books can break us away from many of the stereotypes. So, stereotypes is the typical thing that people think about a group of people. That's not necessarily true. So, stereotypes created to divide and miseducate Black people. So, to miseducate means to educate inaccurately, so not correctly. There are so many stereotypes about Black people being uneducated, illiterate, and straight savages. This is untrue because Black people have written some of the best poetry and works of fiction that have ever been created. Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou, and Jamaica Kincaid are all poets of colour who have created beautiful works of art that prove their excellence and prominence over the written word. And you may have heard of some of these people. Definitely, if you're in year 9, you will have studied 2 of these people. Okay, so you want to pause the video while you continue to either add to your mind maps or your bullet point list. Okay, and that is the end of lesson 1, and now is time to have some reflection on everything that you've created with your mind map and some of the things that we've read together. Okay, so lesson 2, we are moving on to looking at those examples of Black voices in literature. Now, this person here, this is Akala. He is a BAFTA and MOBO award-winning hip-hop artist. Now, if you're happy to read the information on Akala and read through it fully by yourself, then you can skip on. If not, stick with me and I will read through it with you. Okay, so skip on now if you need to. So, BAFTA and MOBO award-winning hip-hop artist, writer, poet and historian Akala is a label owner and social entrepreneur who fuses unique rap, rock, electro-punk sound with fierce lyrical storytelling. So his words, the way he writes his lyrics, is really important to him. As well as performing with the likes of Jay-Z, Plan B and The Streets, Akala has taken part in British Council Arts education music projects across several countries in Southeast Asia, Africa, the Philippines, New Zealand and Australia. So look how wide his voice is heard. Akala is more recently known for his compelling seminars and journalism. So he has written for all of these papers and online. He's done TV presenting and script writing. Over the last few years, he has gained a reputation as one of the most dynamic and literate talents in the UK. Akala has featured on numerous TV programmes across many different channels, promoting his music, his poetry, as well as speaking on a wide range of subjects from music, youth engagement, British, African, Caribbean culture, and the arts as a whole. He is really passionate about the youth of today and the power of the voices that you all have. There is 2 of the books that he has written. One is a more adult book about race and class in the ruins of an empire. And the other one is his kids book, which is inspirational for kids, hip and hop, you can do anything. Okay, so his work is all about the empowerment of people. In 2009, Akala launched the Hip Hop Shakespeare Company, which has sparked worldwide media interest since its inception. Previous hip hop Shakespeare partners, collaborators include the BBC and all of these other brilliant projects. Okay, as the creative, which means he created it, it's his baby, if you like. He came up with this whole idea. An intellectual driving force of the Hip Hop Shakespeare Company, Akala works across all hip hop Shakespeare productions and projects. He worked closely with the team to produce new workshop formats, live events, theatre productions, and creative and social entrepreneurships projects around the world. So he wants to give as many people as many opportunities as possible. And he helps people to understand the works of Shakespeare. You can go onto the website here to check it out if you have any interest. During the week, I'll post up a video of Akala performing some Shakespearean poems. It's so brilliant, and some of you will have already seen that in your classrooms. So what I want you to do now is spend some time going through that information, and then you are going to write a list of your top 5 Akala facts. Okay, what did you take from that? What was powerful about his work? Okay, so you want to pause the video while you do that task. Okay, now I have included some of his lyrics, and I am going to play it for you now. If you don't want to listen to it, you can skip on if you're happy to read for it yourself. I'm going to play it now.
What kind of person would you have been if you grew up in Hampstead instead of Harlesden? Or if you grew up in High Wycombe instead of Harlesden? Who knows? Look at the stuff you've been through and what you're surrounded by. Your environment don't define you, but how do you transcend it? But at the same time, you're growing. Man, am I listening to you? The youth am I listening to you? What are you going to do with that platform now? That's what you want to ask yourself.
Okay, so now that you've had a listen to it, I want you to jot down your first impressions. So if you're doing it on paper, do this on paper, or you can add it to this slide. Okay, so pause the video while you do that. Now we're going to dig a little deeper about this, and we are going to have a personal response. So you're going to use the questions to help you delve into the lyrics. Now if you're happy to do this by yourself, you can skip on the video, and if not, you can stick with me and we'll just talk through some of them now. Okay, so who do you think he is talking to? So I'll give you a clue. He grew up in Harlesden. So who do you think his questions are directed at? What do the lyrics make you think about? Does it make you think about where you're growing up? The things that you've done? The things that could define you? Where do you want to go? What do you want to become in life? Who do you want to send a message to? Okay, what do you think his message is? So you've said who you think he's talking to, but he may be talking to himself and reflecting on his own experience. But what is his message to his reader, his listener, you as an audience? What do you think he's trying to tell you? Is he talking about your voice, the power of your voice? A platform is being able to be in a position where you can influence others and have an impact on others. So what is he saying here? So how do you feel when you read this? This is all about your personal response. What does it make you feel? Okay, what do you think Akala feels is his responsibility? So in here, he is talking about his platform. So if you have a platform, you're able to reach people, and you've looked at the things that he has achieved, and his voice can reach many, many people. So there's a level of responsibility that comes with that. Okay? Do you think that the lyrics are encouraging? What are they encouraging his audience to do, to think about? What is he saying is positive that could come out of this? Okay, so pause the video while you work through some of those questions. Okay, now we are moving on to your final lesson this week. I hope you've enjoyed everything so far. Akala is such a brilliant artist, and I hope that you get a chance to really explore that. So what I want you to do now is make sure that you have your piece of paper, or if you want to work on Microsoft Word, or if you want to add to this PowerPoint. But if you're working on a piece of paper, make sure you have a pen, your headphones or your speakers so that you can listen, and most importantly, an open mind. So you can pause the video now while you listen to this spoken word poet, Samuel King, and he's talking about what I wasn't taught in school. Those of you in year 9, you might recall a poem that we looked at in autumn that links to this. Okay. Now, your task for this lesson is to create a personal response to this spoken word that you have just listened to. So consider how the lyrics highlighted below make you feel. What are your thoughts? What are your views? So we've highlighted some of the lyrics, and you want to think about what kind of thoughts they have sparked in you. What have you taken as inspiration? If you're happy to work through this by yourself, you can skip on the video. If not, I'm just going to talk through some ideas with you now. So the first one is, how many of you guys have actually learned something new these last years? So think about, what have you learned in the last few years that's totally new to you, that enriched your life, that made you understand yourself better, made you understand the world around you better? Okay, the next one, the first black person to win the Nobel Prize. Do you know this information? Is this something that rolls off the top of your tongue? Is this something that you would like to learn about? Should we all know every Nobel Prize winner? What's important about this? Okay, so work through each quotation from the spoken word and think about what it means to you. Okay, so you want to pause the video while you do this. And finally, we're going to link everything together so you can create your piece of work now. And I cannot wait to read these and maybe see some of you perform them. That would be amazing. So Akala's lyrics are all about using your voice and the position that you have to have a positive impact. So your words to make positive changes. With that in mind, and thinking about the spoken word that you've just listened to, write your own spoken word or poem based on Samuel King's work. So you're going to base it on the ideas that you've just done on the previous page for this, and thinking about your voice and what your message is and what you would like to see reflected in school. Okay, so your personal response can look at what is taught at school and how you would like that to change, or how you would like it to continue, or how you would like it to be enriched. So there's some things that you could think about and possible titles, but I know you love to be creative and love to come up with your own titles, and there is also a challenge there. You can be inspired by anything that you have learnt over the last few weeks and throughout this week. I hope you really enjoy this creative task, and I cannot wait to see what you have written. And lastly, I've just included some reading recommendations. Now, you saw at the beginning of this PowerPoint lots of books and lots of writers, so please do go look them up. Please do share with your friends when you find brilliant works that you really enjoyed. There are lots of books here that I have read that I highly recommend. And if you want to have discussions with one another, with me, with your teachers about this, please do. Have a fantastic week. And like I said, I cannot wait to read your comments and your work. Exciting week for you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.